We're in the heart of the summer, in the heart of it all. Ahead on Face the State, more and more people are discovering the interesting, unique, historic, and scenic sites in Ohio, increasing the economic impact of tourism on the state. It is big business. State Tourism Director Sarah Wickham joins me to break down the growth of tourism in Ohio and how the state uses marketing to bring in the masses. Fixing Social Security. Many people count on it to pay their bills and live their lives. Many more are counting on it to be there when they retire. But a new report paints a dire picture. Now, an unlikely tandem of senators is trying to fix it. Ohio Republican Bernie Moreno and Democrat Elizabeth Warren. Hear from Moreno on the urgency of the situation. Plus, honoring a father, grandfather, great-grandfather, and World War II veteran on a really big day. How family, friends, his community, and even the state celebrated Charlie Bach's 100th birthday. Face the State starts now. Thanks for joining us for Face the State. I'm Doug Petcash. Tourism is a key component of the Buckeye State's economy. Living in Ohio, we know the state has a lot to offer and a lot to see. Lakes, rivers, waterfalls, caves, hiking trails, ski hills, state parks, amusement parks, sports teams, museums, theaters, the list goes on. And over the last few years, the number of visitors discovering these places has really been growing at a steady pace. The Ohio Department of Development and Tourism Ohio say in 2021, visitors spent $47 billion in Ohio. Total visitation was $219 million, with 40 million overnight stays, and tourism supported more than 400,000 jobs. Fast forward 5 years to last year, the Ohio Department of Development says visitors spent $58 billion in the state. Total visitation was up to $245 million, with 49 million overnight stays. And tourism supported nearly 450,000 jobs. One of the keys is attracting people by letting them know what the attractions are in Ohio. That's where marketing and promotions come in. Tourism Ohio has new advertisements you might see here and ads targeting nearby states. One of the agency's newest ads is called Must Be the Love. Check it out.
Must be the love.
And joining me now is State Tourism Director Sarah Wickham. Sarah, thank you for being here today. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
So we'll get more on the marketing in just a minute. But when you look at these numbers and the continued growth, what does that tell you about the importance of tourism to the state of Ohio and its economy?
Yeah, I think that tourism is a huge driver of Ohio's economy and a really important step in a relocation journey. So it's very important for us to focus on our out-of-state markets. The out-of-state spend is about 3 times higher than our in-state visitors. And so for us, it's really important to reach those visitors in markets 3 to 5 hours from Ohio and show them all that Ohio has to offer. People don't know a lot about Ohio, and so it's really important that we educate them about all there is to see and do in our state.
And so let's stick with that then.
Yeah.
Which states are you targeting? Because we definitely see ads here from Kentucky and West Virginia, at least that I can think of.
Absolutely. So we target, again, 3 to 5 hour drive time. Our furthest market is Buffalo, but you can think of all the markets right around Ohio. We have a couple Michigan markets, Indiana, West Virginia, Kentucky, and Pennsylvania. So we target those large markets right around our state because we know that those are the travelers that are most likely to visit Ohio. Those travelers generally have a planning cycle of 2 weeks to 2 months. And so we have a really tight window to tell the seasonal story about all there is to do in Ohio.
Yeah, that is interesting. And so the target really is the drivable tourism dollars rather than trying to get somebody to fly here?
So primarily we focus on our drive markets, and those have really been the markets where we have spent the majority of our funds over the last handful of years. But airports across Ohio are really expanding opportunity. We're seeing every couple of months a new flight into or out of our state. And so we're looking at those markets and seeing where there might be a business case to expand to some of those fly-to markets.
How competitive is it? When you look at what your office does and the, similar offices in those surrounding states, they're trying to pluck us away to go to their states too.
Absolutely. It's incredibly competitive, and I think that there is a perception that Michigan is the leader here. Pure Michigan, everyone knows it, but the data doesn't tell that same story. Ohio has more visitors than any of our surrounding states each and every year, and we have more visitor spend than all of our surrounding states except Pennsylvania.
Except Pennsylvania. So when we look at those numbers, from like 219 million visits to 245 million, from 49 billion spent to 58 billion spent just in the last 5 years, what do you attribute the growth to?
I do think that it is the focus on the out-of-state markets. Again, those visitors come in, they spend a lot more, and we know that satisfaction is very, very high. 93% of visitors intend to return in the next 12 months. Those return visits are really bringing a lot of dollars into the state.
Is that because they want to do the same thing again, or maybe they were in Hocking Hills and they saw something nearby that they want to go check out next time?
I think that our strength is our variety. There's so much to do. We are a 12-month destination. You can come back again and again and have a new experience each and every time.
That's interesting too. So the department says that tourism supported 447,000 jobs in 2025. So what kinds of jobs are you talking about?
Yeah, so those jobs include those that are directly tourism related, those at our convention and visitors bureaus, those that work in restaurants and at attractions. Some of it's retail, but we look really closely at the data to understand how those numbers work. To think about how this impacts some of our small towns, for example, I saw a press release yesterday from Logan County. They claim $221 million of economic impact in Logan County in 2025. That's huge. Logan
Just from
County
tourism.
is, yes, tourism. Bell Fountain, Indian Lake, $221 million of economic impact. It's a really big deal.
And especially for that area when you think about Indian Lake too. The
Absolutely.
tornadoes just 2 or 3 years ago, to hear that they're rebounding to that amount is a great story for them.
Yes, yeah.
So the state also recently announced a new partnership with the the Greater Columbus Convention Center.
Yes.
How will it work? What's the aim there?
Yeah, so we wanted to help visitors to the convention center to tie Columbus to the greater state. I know when I go and travel for conventions, I tend to see very few things outside of the convention center and the area right around it. But we know that having those visitors, more than 1 million of them every year in our state, is a huge opportunity. So we want to help them see that Ohio is just as cool as Columbus is. So we've introduced a lot of big graphics and branding, targeted digital messaging for each conference that comes to town, and helping those visitors to really make that connection.
And tax dollars pay for things like those graphics and the messaging, the advertising that you're seeing in other states and whatnot. Do you believe that that is a good return on investment for what the people of Ohio are putting into the tourism industry here?
I absolutely do. We conduct return on investment return on investment research each and every year to understand the impact that our advertising is having. And it really tells a very clear story about how well those dollars are inducing people to travel. Our research breaks down the travelers that would have come anyway, and those that saw our ads and made a trip as a result. So I absolutely think that it is a wonderful investment for the state.
And when you look at the numbers over the last 5 years or so, how do you come up with those numbers? How do you know $58 billion was spent and there were 245 million visits?
Yeah, so we work with very qualified research firms to give us that information. You know, for example, Tourism Economics pulls data both from Ohio and from credit card companies, airlines, all different places to get that data and really do the math to tell us how we're doing. And they do it for states across the country, so it's really easy to compare how we're doing versus how our competitors are doing.
So people are already talking about getting ready to go back to school. You know, so you've had your summer advertising campaign. Now we're just heading into August, and so what's the focus now at Tourism Ohio as we head into that next season?
Yeah, so we're closing out our fairs and festivals from the summer. The Ohio State Fair starts next week.
Yes,
Everyone's very excited. But we know that fall is great for agritourism, really getting people out onto our farms across the state for pumpkin picking, apple picking, corn mazes. Foliage. Ohio rates really, really high across the country for fall color, which people love. It's something that we take for granted here in Ohio, but our friends in the Southeast have no experience with. So we're going to send them a little message about how great fall is here in Ohio.
I can say this, even the boring drive on I-70 across the state can be pretty good when the colors are in. It's
kind of beautiful,
isn't it? Isn't it really?
Kind of beautiful.
Well, Sarah, thank you so much for your time and for laying out how important tourism is here for the state. Appreciate
Thank you. Thanks.
Have a great day. Well, still ahead on Face the State.
We would put millions of seniors into poverty.
That's if the Social Security Trust Fund becomes insolvent and benefits get cut. But Senator Bernie Moreno is teaming up with an unlikely ally to try to prevent that. We'll break down how Social Security got into this predicament and the billions of dollars of impact it has on Ohio. And welcome back to Face the State. I'm Doug Petcash. A recent report shows the Social Security Trust Fund could become insolvent in just 6 years and would mean sweeping benefit cuts. That's unless Congress takes action. The urgency of the situation has brought together two senators with mostly polar opposite political beliefs. Ohio Republican Senator Bernie Moreno and Massachusetts Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren seem like very unlikely partners. In a recent New York Times op-ed, they say they don't agree on everything, but they do agree Congress has to do something now to save Social Security for future generations.
Tom Crawford doesn't worry much about his Social Security benefits.
Yeah, I worry about it more for my kids than ourselves. I think they'll probably keep it funded through my lifetime. But
33-year-old Alex Lerma is thinking decades ahead.
I'm newly engaged and, plan to be married soon and want to have kids and all that. And, if I don't have it, what's going to happen with my kids,
Leaders in Washington are thinking 6 years ahead. The Social Security Advisory Board estimates the program's trust fund will become insolvent in 2032, leading to an across-the-board 22% benefit cut, unless Congress acts before then.
We would put millions of seniors into poverty.
Ohio Senator Bernie Moreno recently joined with Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren in a New York Times op-ed calling for the Social Security payroll tax cap to be lifted. Right now, employees and employers pay 6.2% Social Security payroll tax on up to $184,500 of income. Earned income above that threshold is exempt from the tax.
Somebody who makes $1 million a year, good for them that they become successful. They pay 1.2% of their wages into Social Security. It's a very regressive tax.
Cedarville University economics professor Jared Pinson says lifting the cap alone could protect Social Security for another generation.
Would solve about 67% of the shortfall over the next 75 years, which would push the exhaustion date of Social Security Trust Fund to somewhere around 2050 to 2055.
Congress can't continue to kick this down the road.
AARP Ohio State Director Jenny Carlson says the Moreno-Warren proposal is promising. She says in a recent AARP Ohio survey, 55% said they will depend on Social Security for their retirement.
It is a top-of-mind issue. AARP has been the fierce defender to make sure that Social Security, if you paid into it, you're going to receive it.
Senator Moreno says the urgency of the Social Security situation brought him and Warren together.
And it doesn't matter that we disagree on virtually everything else. It means it sends a signal to my colleagues that we have to get serious about solving this problem.
We also reached out to Senator Elizabeth Warren's office for an interview, but did not hear back. Senator Moreno says the proposal to lift the payroll tax cap is just one approach and will likely be part of a larger piece of legislation to protect Social Security.
I think we can fix that while at the same time lowering top marginal rates, using tariff revenue to bridge the gap in Social Security, moving to a more private option where people coming into the workforce can have that money go into an actual fund that you can track and you can own. That's the type of program that long term I think can happen, but we got to look at the totality of what we can do. There's also an idea of creating a national sovereign wealth fund that would allow the government to invest in funds and use the difference between our cost of borrowing and the returns on these funds to fund Social Security, to make certain that it's there for the people who need it, who counted on it, while providing a private option if that's what people sought. So this is a comprehensive solution. It was never intended to say this is the only thing that we would do.
When I talked with Cedarville University economics professor Jared Pinson, he explained more in depth how Social Security got into this predicament of facing insolvency in 6 years.
What shocks a lot of people is that this is not an unknown problem. This has been something that has been known for a while. The only thing that has moved is the solvency date, or the exhaustion date, I should say that, because if you look at reports about 20 years ago, the exhaustion date was in the mid-2040s. But that really started to change after the 2007-2009 recession, which lowered fertility quite substantially and then was significant effect on the economy. And so that started pushing that date closer to the date that we have now.
And again, that date is 2032. Jenny Carlson with AARP Ohio says 1 in 5 people in Ohio are receiving Social Security benefits, and that number will continue to grow because Ohio has an aging population. She gave some perspective on the impact of Social Security in the Buckeye State.
Over the course of our lifetime, Social Security, and I think this is really important to note, they've never missed a paycheck. It is, and it has historical ties to Ohio. The first Social Security payment was to an individual out of Cleveland and paid out 91 years ago. It's almost the Social Security Administration's anniversary, mid-August, and so that's really important to note too, and that it has provided financial stability for the population in Ohio, and in fact, individuals, the 2.5 million individuals that receive Social Security, that's a $53 billion investment in the economy. And those are dollars that are being invested in paying for groceries, supporting local schools, supporting local businesses. So there's an economic development perspective from that as well.
And of course, we will continue to follow the latest developments on the proposal by Senators Marino and Warren and other new developments impacting Social Security. In fact, earlier this month, a bipartisan group of senators introduced the Promise Act. It would direct the Social Security Advisory Board to draft a bill to keep the program's trust fund solvent for another 5 decades. Senator Marino tells me he does not support it. A big decision this week after 9 months of consideration. The Ohio Environmental Protection Agency decided not to move forward with a proposed permitting plan for the water some data centers discharge into lakes, rivers, and streams. The proposal drew a huge amount of public input. In a community notice, the Ohio EPA said public participation is a critical part of the agency's decision-making process.
Amy Swank has followed data center development closely since one was built near her neighborhood several years ago.
I think the Ohio EPA made the right call to protect Ohioans. I think doing them on an individual basis is what makes sense, and a blanket permit really exposed Ohio and our citizens to risks that weren't necessary.
Back in October, the Ohio EPA first proposed a general permitting process for water discharge that would have applied to all data centers statewide. In a community notice Tuesday morning, the agency announced the individual permitting process it currently uses is the most appropriate path forward. The agency said, after carefully reviewing the significant volume of public comments received on the draft general permit for data centers, Ohio EPA has decided not to move forward with finalizing the general permit. Last week, an Ohio EPA spokesperson told 10 TV the agency was reviewing more than 7,000 public comments before making a decision.
I think it's excellent that the Ohio EPA took feedback from citizens into consideration when they're making this decision.
According to Data Center Map, Ohio is home to nearly 240 data centers, with 125 of them in central Ohio. In the wake of the Ohio EPA decision to permit data centers individually, Swank says local people will still have to keep an eye on the process.
Local communities will have to go out and find them, and then they will need to monitor that the things that are going into their local streams and waterways are in fact safe.
The Ohio EPA added that the individual permits will uphold the same rigorous state and federal environmental standards and protections. Coming up next on Face the State, happy 100th.
Amazing.
And it is amazing. It's just hard to believe.
We can't believe it.
A life well lived by a man well loved. We'll take you to a special celebration, a century in the making, honoring a loving father and World War II vet. When the Ohio State Fair opens this Wednesday, you'll be able to check out an old-timey attraction that's been under renovation for a couple years. That's the Ohio Village at the Ohio History Center. It's a recreated town that gives people the experience of being an Ohioan in the 1800s and 1900s. Take a look. It features costumed historical actors and traditional trades and buildings, such as a print shop, a church, and a schoolhouse. Ohio Village closed 2 years ago for significant upgrades. With the renovations, they can now expand what they talk about.
We're also going to be able to talk about new exciting histories. So I mentioned we're going up to the 1930s. We're going to be able to talk about things such as World War I, the Great Depression, the women's vote. So we're going to have more history to share than ever before.
As we mentioned, the Ohio State Fair starts this Wednesday. It runs through August 9th. Online tickets are still available through Tuesday, $9 for adults. If you buy them after the start of the fair, $13 day of for adults and $10 for kids between 6 and 12 years old. Kids 5 and under get in free, and parking is $10. 10 TV will give you exclusive access starting on Tuesday. We'll have what you need to know before you go, the best days to visit, best places to park, and some of the crazy new food at the fair. And of course, the Butter Cow unveiling. Make sure you watch our coverage all day Tuesday on TV and on our 10 TV streaming app. Well, back in 1926, a new car cost $325. A gallon of gas was 20 cents, and a postage stamp was 2 cents. That was also the year World War II veteran Charlie Bach was born. On his 100th birthday on July 20th, his family, friends, community, and even the state honored him during a special party in Lancaster.
A round of applause and a shower of balloons for Charlie Bach, who says of turning 100 years old,
"Feels great."
He celebrated the century mark surrounded by friends at Reflections Retirement Community in Lancaster and several of his 6 children.
It's amazing.
And it is amazing. It's just hard to believe.
We can't believe it.
And a good-sized group of his 14 grandkids and 14 great-grandkids.
I'm proud to be here today with him on his 100th birthday.
Including 15-year-old David Bach, who was at the piano for Happy Birthday.
My grandma, wherever she is, trusted me enough to play Happy Birthday for him.
Governor Mike DeWine even sent official birthday wishes as read by Lancaster Mayor Don McDaniel.
On behalf of the state of Ohio, we join with your friends and family wishing you a very happy 100th birthday.
Who also presented a certificate from the city.
These are the exciting things the mayor gets to do, recognizing somebody, a World War II veteran, an Army veteran on his 100th birthday.
I was drafted right out of high school.
Charlie served in Germany at the tail end of the war. Proud of his service, but private with it.
It means a whole lot to
We don't talk about it a lot, but over the years we've, found out a few things.
Daughters Carol and Joyce are proud of the service of the Army Staff Sergeant and filled with love and memories of a great dad.
I remember going swimming, and we would just take turns jumping off of his back.
And as for his secret to a long life?
Oh, I don't know. It's hard to tell.
But Carol and Joyce have a good idea.
He never gets upset about anything. He just goes with the flow. You know what I mean? Just real easygoing, relaxed.
Even surrounded by a large and loving crowd on his big day.
He's our dad. He's our dad. That's special enough.
Happy birthday, Charlie. And thank you for your service.
A nice way to end the show today, and yes, happy birthday, Charlie. And thank you for joining me this week for Face the State. I'm Doug Petcash. I'll see you next Sunday at 11:30. Have a great day.